Yo, what's up guys? It is great to see you back once again. I hope you've all had a fantastic week. It will not stop raining here. There are thunderstorms in the background, which is a polar opposite to last week. But regardless, it's been a busy week. There's lots of stuff to talk about, and it's of course time for another weekly reset. So, what has been going on this week? Well, it's actually been another busy week. To be honest, that's kind of going to be the running theme from basically now until the end of the year. Gamescom is around the corner. Of course, when we get to September, that's when all the releases start coming out. So, yeah, it's pretty much non-stop. Hold on to your seats. Lots of cool stuff to come. But this week, we already had some information, of course. Last weekend, EVO, there were some reveals off the back of some of the tournament matches, which were really cool, by the way. I tuned in for the Guilty Gear ones, tuned in for the Smash ones, caught a little bit of stuff on Street Fighter, Dragon Ball as well, so really cool to see. Shout out to Problem X for bringing it home for the UK squad for Street Fighter 5. But on top of that, this week we of course had the Smash Brothers Direct. We also had some gameplay for Red Dead Redemption. There's a little bit of news on Diablo and kind of things that might be coming in the future. And of course, on top of that, a little bit of information for God of War fans. As for late to the party, I didn't actually play the game that I thought I was going to play this week, but I have been sinking a lot more time into Okami HD. And to be honest, I just want to talk about that some more, so we're going to do that. And on the tech front, I picked up some fancy new speakers, which also double up as some kind of cool lights. So lots of cool stuff in today's episode. Of course, if you enjoy it, a like would be super appreciated. Make sure you stay tuned. Every single Saturday, there's a brand new weekly reset. But that's the plan for today's show, so let's get started. First up in the news this week, we of course got some brand new Red Dead Redemption 2 gameplay. And I'm going to say, it looks fantastic. Rockstar always deliver, and they kind of do what they want. They're just sort of like their own beast. They just drop trailers when they want, make it into a massive event. But they had their stream this week. They showed off the gameplay. It was only about 6 minutes long, and it was dubbed as part 1, so I imagine there'll be more videos to come from now until launch. But either way, what they did show was very, very exciting. If you guys haven't seen it, you can find a link down below. I'll of course cut little segments into this video, but if you want to see the whole thing with the audio, with the gameplay, then definitely check that out. But what we did get to see was some snippets into some of the different aspects of gameplay. So first up, melee combat is going to be playing a bigger part in number 2. You won't just be running around with your pistols and your rifles. You'll actually be able to use fully fledged melee combat in situations to, confront people, to fight people, to kind of hold them up when you interrogate them, things like that. So that's of course going to play a big role in-game. They also said that you can start up conversations with pretty much anyone in the world. I imagine there'll be, some people that kind of are nondescript and whatnot, but largely speaking, you can kind of go over and just chat to anyone, and you can kind of bring up those conversations in different ways. You can just sort of be friendly, you can be antagonistic. When you're going past on your horse, you can kind of give them a cursory like, what's up buddy, things like that. So that just means it's going to be like a bigger living, breathing world. That's the sort of thing that we saw when we checked out the Cyberpunk demo earlier this year at E3. This fact that you can kind of go up and speak to almost everyone, it just kind of gives you that much more believability to the world. You don't just suddenly walk past 15 different NPCs that are just there that don't actually do anything. This way, even if you only engage in like minor conversations, it still kind of adds that personality. Additionally, your horse is of course going to play a very big role in this game. You won't just jump on your horse like before and ride into the sunset. You can actually build a bond with your horse, kind of like in Breath of the Wild. If you've seen that, when you first start using it, it might be a little bit unruly, and of course the longer you use it, you improve the stats, it respects you a little bit more, and it'll be a fair bit easier to control. And on top of that, it's also said that you won't be able to carry quite so much in game. You might not necessarily have like this infinite inventory, so you kind of use your horse as like a roaming storage. You can attach things to it, fix things to it, so there if you are running out of space and you're trying to sort of carry more stuff, that's what your horse is for. On top of that, you also form part of a gang, because of course this time around you're playing as a gang member, and your hub, so to speak, is this sort of roaming camp. You can engage with different members of the gang, you can kind of help out in tasks, boost their morale, things like that, but that'll of course form a large part of the game. Now, one interesting thing that we did see from the trailer hasn't really been confirmed just yet. We can only infer this from gameplay, and they did say that everything they showed in this video was recorded in-game. None of it's supposed to be like CGI or anything like that. So with that in mind, when it came to gun combat, we saw him switch from say like a pistol to a shotgun, but there was no weapon wheel like before. So it looks like what they might be doing is adopting adopting a slightly more realistic system a la, say, Max Payne 3, where you kind of have a couple of different weapons and you swap to them, but you don't just have this infinite plethora of weapons you can just flip to in a wheel. So if that's the case, you might have to be slightly more thoughtful with your choices. But either way, from what we saw, looks very nice, looks very exciting. I definitely can't wait to jump into it. It is one of those kind of games that I don't necessarily play them for the story too much. I do just like messing around with those kind of worlds, but regardless, I'm excited. However, moving on from there, God of War fans, for those of you that were patiently waiting for a new game plus, it is coming to the game. Now, some people might have said, you know, a little bit late by now, but it's a free update, and it's your chance to jump back into the game, so if you completed it and put it down, this could be your reason to jump back in. On August the 20th, you will get a free update. Everybody will get it, and that will add New Game Plus to the game. You will, of course, need to have completed the game first, but if you've done that, New Game Plus will be available to you. And of course, as part of that, there will be new gear, there will be tougher enemies, some of them will have new tricks up their sleeves, and you'll also be able to skip the cinematics. Now, obviously, it's a really awesome game with a great story, but if you've played it the first time, then you might want to skip. Now, of course, as mentioned, yes, there is a whole plethora of new gear, but if you do play through the game on New Game Plus, you can keep all your gear from before, your armor, your weapons, your enchantments, your talisman, everything like that, and you can then play through on your chosen difficulty whilst also acquiring new items. There'll also be a new resource called Scap Slag, which you'll have to collect, and that is the item you use to upgrade because there is a new tier of rarity in New Game Plus that basically allows you to take your gear to that next level. So if you really want to get the complete experience, this is for you. So August the 20th, that goes live, completely free for all players. Then for those of you guys that are fans of Diablo, you might remember back in June this year, there was actually a job listing that went up for a Diablo related project. And at the time we thought, you know, it probably wasn't going to be like a Diablo 2 remake, nor was it going to be Diablo 4. However, since then, this week, the community manager dropped a video not only talking about the most recent season for Diablo 3, but also talking about their future of Diablo. They did say that the irons are burning and they're working hard on multiple Diablo projects. Now, they said that a lot of them are still in their early stages. They're not ready to talk about them just yet, but they did say they should have a few things to show us later this year. Now, keep in mind, BlizzCon is in November 2nd this year, so that is, of course, more than likely when we get to see it. But what could it be? Well, I'm really hoping, obviously, I think everyone's hoping for kind of a Diablo 4. I mean, some people would still like a Diablo 2 remake. I love Diablo 2, but I'm all for something brand new. So yes, that would be really cool. Now, I currently need something to scratch that itch because earlier in the year, I replayed through Diablo 3 as a necromancer. Really good fun. And part of the reason I did that is because since discovering Lost Ark, which is similar to Diablo in kind of perspective and gameplay, but it's also an MMO versus Diablo, which is not. But that game just probably is never going to come out over here, or if it is, probably not for a good like 2 or 3 years. So I need something to fill that void, and if Diablo 4 or whatever Diablo thing comes out next comes before that, then I am completely on board. That being said, I would also be very happy with Diablo 3 on Switch. I mean, everything on Switch is kind of my mantra right now because traveling and whatnot, it's just nice to take with me. So yeah, more Diablo stuff coming later this year, or at least finding out about it later this year. But either way, yes, stuff to look forward to. And then of course, finally for the news, Smash Brothers. Now I'm not going to go over this in too much detail because I did do a video on it earlier this week on the channel. If you guys haven't seen that, you can click the card up there. But quick summary, we of course got 5 new playable characters to add to the roster. 2 of them are brand new, which is of course Simon Belmont and King K. Rool. But on top of that, we also got 3 Echo Fighters, Richter Belmont, Crom, and also Dark Samus. On top of that, there's a plethora of new stages, a lot of new assist trophies, one of which is Rathalos, which is mind blown. And I'm kind of hoping that if Rathalos is there as an assist trophy, maybe we might get a hunter in-game, because assist trophies are sort of like a blessing and a curse. If you see a character you were hoping there was going to be in-game as an assist trophy, then chances are your character isn't coming in-game. Kind of like I was hoping for Shovel Knight, and now we know it's an assist. So the fact that it's not a hunter, but it's Rathalos, means maybe there could be something else Monster Hunter related. I'm kind of hoping, but either way, lots of cool stuff. Stages, new Pokemon, new items, plenty of interesting things. I'm just a massive Smash fan, and I just cannot wait for the game to come out. And with that in mind, they also got a cool piece of tech, which will be in next week's weekly reset, which will actually be very useful for when Smash Bros. Comes out. But stay tuned for that. For the time being, that's it for the news. Now, what have I been playing this week? Well, if I'm going to be completely honest, it's kind of half been Dead Cells again, but I was like, well, I can't really do another episode on Dead Cells because I've already spoken about that, but I've been playing that. It came out, it was on Switch, so had a lot of fun with that. But the other game I have been sinking a lot of time into was Okami HD. I was actually going to pick up Iconoclasts, and that was going to be the game for this week, but I just haven't had a chance to get around to it. I do definitely still want to pick that up, but for the time being, Okami HD has been taking up a lot of my time, and honestly, I'm just so happy to finally be able to jump back in and play it, because I have always wanted to play through this game, and it's funny, like, my tale for this game goes way back to when I was at school. Like, I grew up as a Nintendo kid, so I had a GameCube, so I never got to play this when I was on PS2, because I didn't have a PS2 back in the day. But I discovered it before then, because I used to do graphic design at school as one of my modules, and one of the projects I was doing was on the Sumie art style, the Japanese ink brush art style, and during my research I came across Okami. So naturally when I first saw it, I was like, I need to play this game, and then it came out on Wii, and I started playing it, and instantly it just clicked with me. The art style was fantastic, and as a huge Zelda fan, there are so many elements that are just, you know, it's kind of a similar kind of game, it's an action-adventure game, so as a Zelda fan, there were just so many elements in Okami that just clicked with me instantly. That being said, for some strange reason, can't even remember why now, but I never actually got around to finishing it, so fast forward to today, when it's now out on Switch, and finally I've actually had a chance to sit down and start working my way through. I uploaded a video earlier in the week. If you guys want to check that out, you can click the card. That's about 30 minutes of gameplay from the very beginning of the game. Now obviously in a game like this, it gets infinitely more exciting the further you get, because you get more abilities, gameplay becomes a lot more exciting, there's just a lot more stuff to do. But that being said, if you want to kind of get a good idea as to how it plays out, combat and different things like that, then definitely do check that out. But I've been able to sink even more time into it this week and got a lot further, and it is just a fantastic game. If you haven't played this, honestly, it's available on pretty much all platforms now. You can get it on PS2, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, I think it's even on PC. It's basically everywhere. So yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't done so already. It is an action-adventure game, so obviously you work your way through this fantastic world. It's steeped in Japanese mythology, and you have these really cool different brush abilities. Now, one of the cool things about playing on Switch is you can still play with a gamepad, and that's kind of how I'm doing it anyway. But if you do want to, you can actually factor in motion controls, or you can just draw on the screen, because part of the gameplay is that as well as playing as Amaterasu, this wolf, and you have your basic combat abilities, you could also bring up the scroll and you can do these Japanese brushstrokes to trigger different abilities. Some of them are to, you know, restore parts of the world and complete puzzles. Other ones can actually be used in combat, so you can slice enemies, you can draw bombs, things like that. And obviously you can draw it with the analog sticks, but having the freedom with the motion controls is actually quite nice. So that's another aspect that just makes it nice on Switch. And of course, being able to take it with me, it now means that this weekend I'm heading up to Scotland, so I can now take it on the train, and I can actually continue my journey. So that is probably going to be the reason that I'm actually able to complete the game this time around. It is about 40 hours, I think, kind of golden line, so to speak. So if you are just sort of working through the story and not kind of exploring out too much, then you're looking at around a 40-hour campaign, and it's not actually too expensive. It is a bit of a shame that you can only buy it digitally if you're in the US or the UK. There is a physical version in Japan, which I kind of want to import for my collection, but either way, it is still definitely worth your time. So if you haven't played this game, doesn't matter what platform you play it on, you need to play this game. Now on the tech front this week, I actually picked up two really cool items. The second one only arrived yesterday, so I didn't have a chance to set it up, so that will be in next week's episode. Definitely don't miss that one, because that one is really cool. But this week, I am talking about the Logitech G560 Light Sync speakers. Now, yes, before anyone asks, I did buy them because they have RGB lights in, but it's really cool because they have light sync, so you can basically set it up so that it syncs to a variety of different things, which I'll go over in just a moment. But first up, let's talk about the top level stuff. They go for around £200 or $200, so they're a little bit pricey. But with that, you get two speakers, left and right, and a big subwoofer, a downward facing subwoofer. Really good. The sound quality is very nice. So obviously, I mean, if you're buying speakers, you're going to buy them for sound, not for lights, unless you're me. But they do have great sound quality. I will say the subwoofer is pretty loud. Obviously, if that's your thing, if you like the heavy bass, then fair enough. But I did actually have to turn it down a little bit because I'm on the top floor, and also it just kind of was quite heavy. That being said, the one negative is that you can't actually turn down the subwoofer on the device itself. You have to go through the software. There's no like manual dial, but it's a minor thing. You jump in the software, dial it down, and then you save it as a preset. You can save a variety of different presets, so if you do want to have different audio setups depending on what you're doing, maybe if you're having a party versus if you're just, say, editing at night. But either way, sound quality is an immediate tick. On the right speaker, you have easy volume controls on the top, just 2 buttons to turn up and down. And then on the back, you have a 3.5mm jack, so you can plug your headphones in. You also have a power button if you want to turn the lights off. And you also have a Bluetooth button if you want to sync a device. Now, obviously, you can connect this via USB to your PC, and you need to do that if you want to take full advantage of all the audio and light sync options. But if you do want to sync it to a device like your phone, iPad, stuff like that, then that is also an option. But when you have it all set up, then that's when the fun starts. So let's talk about the lights, because let's be honest, it is the main reason that I bought these. I mean, if they didn't have lights, I could have gone and bought any other speakers. But the reason I got these ones is because they have this light sync technology. So on the speakers themselves, the left and right speakers, they have this little hollowed out part at the front where you have forward facing lights, plus they have a big bulb at the back for backward facing lights. So of course they're naturally best set up by a wall, so it projects onto the wall. And then what you can do is in the software, you can configure them in a number of different ways. You can just set it static with like your favorite color, and it then just displays that color light. You can adjust the brightness, everything like that. You can also have it cycle between colors. You can have it breathe between colors, and then you can sync it to different things. So you've got the obvious one where you can sync it to music, and it will do its very best to try and match the beat. You can configure it yourself a little bit more so if you want to. But the other really cool thing, and the reason it factors into gaming, is because it's got the option to sync to particular games and other activities on your screen. See, what you can do is if you open up the settings panel, you can actually configure this to take samples from different parts of the screen. So if you're playing a game, or if you're watching a movie, you can then have the speakers try and grab colors from different sections of the screen. So let's say, for example, I'm playing Monster Hunter. I could say, all right, I want the left front part to draw from the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I want the backlight to draw from the top left-hand corner of the screen, and then same for the right. And then that way, what it'll try and do is, as you're playing through, if there's, say, you're running through the jungle and then there's like grass and stuff, it'll try and draw some green from the corner. If it's like a really bright day and there's like a blue sky, it'll of course draw the blue from the region that you selected. And you can make it a little bit more precise if you wanted to. If you knew, for example, that, the top quadrant of a game was very, very vibrant or has like a lot of good color information, you could then, of course, select that as the area it draws from. There are some presets. There are some games like Fortnite, Dota, I think Battlefield, a few things like that, they're already pre-configured. So if you're playing those, it's already got that kind of setup for you. But if you are playing different games, I just did a very quick one. I threw on some Dead Cells. There's actually some gameplay that I recorded, hence why I'm not sitting at the keyboard, but it does the exact same thing. And this would also apply for movies. I just kind of picked a few different areas that I knew some cool colors came out of. I will say it's not perfect. It just does its very best. It will basically just draw colors from that quadrant, but it's still like a nice thing, because of course if you do have a nice big wall behind and you can project the lights up onto it, you can get this subtle, especially if you say turn down the brightness, you can get these subtle lights that almost make it look like the colors of the game are bleeding out onto your wall. So very, very happy with it. Definitely a really cool product. I do have an additional subtle LED strip at the back of my desk, so I can then sort of blend these together. I just have like, a passive white light that just gives me some brightness, and then with this factored in, you do actually get this really nice glow. If it's super bright, sometimes it can get a little bit obnoxious, so I have sort of toned it down a little bit, but overall, I'm actually super happy with how it looks. I will say that light functionality, I do just have it cycling between colors for now. I don't really use the game functionality that much, but still, it is an option. So there you have it. That is it for this week's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you again for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. I've been checking all the comments every single week. You guys have been saying how you really enjoy the format. This is something you enjoy tuning back in for on a weekly basis. So thank you so much. It feels really good. I really enjoy making these, just sort of something different. So definitely this is going to get bigger and better. I say this every week, but if there's stuff you guys want me to check out, if there's tech you want me to check out, things like that, then definitely do let me know. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to be going over to Gamescom, so I might even be able to record some special stuff there and maybe do like a Gamescom special, so stay tuned for that. But either way, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next Saturday.